Hey, hey, my friends. Happy Monday. Emily Smiley here. I'm so excited to share with you guys my Made for More Monday. It literally was a series that I felt like God laid on my heart because I literally have so much that I want to share that it's just running over. So my question for you today is today's topic is, how to achieve your goals and stop letting fear stop you in your tracks. Can you really do this? Can you really achieve your goals? If you're just hopping on Grant StreamYard access, I love StreamYard because I can stream in multiple places on multiple platforms. But I really want to get your comments on this as you're just hopping on. Please say, hey, give me some love. Let me know where you're tuning in from and what the weather's like because it's triple digits here. And then also, if you're watching this on the replay, let me know, hashtag replay. I want to be sure to get back and respond to you as well. So how would it feel to know if you had a goal in your life, that you had everything and that you would absolutely achieve your goal and that nothing would be able to stop you? None of that doubt or that fear that creeps in saying, can I really do this? Can I really do this in my life? And how many of us have set goals that we haven't maybe done that? What was it that kept us from succeeding or moving forward in those goals? So I kind of want to share 5 tips that have helped me. I've done a lot of work in this area, so I really hope to bring you guys some value in this area because fear is a very powerful tool. I honestly believe that the spirit of fear is one of the most powerful weapons that is used against us to keep us stuck in your life, in your business, in your relationships, just basically everything. So I have shared in the past about, like the different types of fear. So I'm not going to get into that today, but I did want to, get into the tips for once you do recognize that that you have these goals that you've set for yourself and whatever it is in your life, what is it that's keeping you stuck? And stuck for me really came from a sense of fear. And, I don't know if you guys are like me or if you can relate, but for me, it was like, I never wanted to admit that I was fearful. I like to think of myself as like a go-getter, and goal setting is a big issue for me. Like, I love goal setting. And I would say usually I thrive at it. And when I no longer felt like I was, I really had to stop and really delve deeper into this. So I really hope that this is valuable for you guys. Again, if you're just hopping on or if this resonates for you, or if this is an area of, I don't want to say concern, but an area or topic area in your life, let me know. Drop me some love. And welcome. Thanks for tuning in. How would it feel to achieve your goals? So you need to master and move forward in your life. Well, how do you do this? Well, a lot of us, if you're really into personal growth and development, which I am, I read a lot of, personal development books. Once you master something, you literally tend to move forward, right? Whether it's failing forward, which I've totally done, or you're in this new season of growth where you're just, learning and growing. And this can be a really scary time and a really fearful time, and it can be a very painful time, right? Because when you grow, there's going to be challenges in your life. So when I say grow, like it can be that goal. Usually if there's a goal or something that you're striving or you're working for, maybe it's your health, maybe it's your business, maybe it's, just building a stronger relationship with your spouse or your kids or your coworkers or whatever it is, right? You set that goal for yourself. There's usually this growth period that has to happen, right, within you that you're completely choose and are in charge of. And it's uncomfortable to the point sometimes it's downright painful, right? Both of my kids, when they've hit their growth spurts, right, they've literally cried because it's painful to grow. If it's physically painful, how many of us struggle mentally and emotionally, especially in the times we're in right now, in this like growing, right, where we're literally have a magnifying glass on ourselves, whether you've got those big goals or not. And you're like, all right, how can I grow through this, right? I need to grow through this time. So how many of you guys can relate? Please let me know if this resonates with you as far as growing through this time that we're in. Because I honestly believe that if you change your mindset into, and I'll get into this in a minute, so hang with me on the tips, just really just choosing to grow through this time, right? you can literally create an opportunity out of chaos. So 5 tips that have really helped me in dealing with this spirit of fear, or this fear that gets us stuck. The first one is to acknowledge that you feel it, right? How many of us have grown up to where, if you were fearful, you might have thought it, but you don't admit it. And so I'm very much that way. Asking for help is very difficult for me. And if I feel the fear, I will shove it way down. And I've learned, and this is not easy, so I am not just saying this to say this, acknowledging it is tough. Letting myself feel the fear is rough. It's rough. I want to acknowledge that. If you have been fearful lately, it's okay. And if you just need somebody to tell you it's okay, not like blow it off. I'm talking about actually sit in it, right? And I don't mean stay in it, right? But feel it, be aware of it. That's important. Pay attention. Because once you start paying attention, you might notice that like physical things, like maybe you get headaches, or maybe you're short-tempered. That's mine. Short with people. Maybe you get tense right here. That's normal for people, right? And you're like, oh, well, maybe that's stress. But where does the stress stem from, right? It's probably that spirit of fear that is keeping you stuck in the things that are no longer serving you. So I would say my number one tip is to feel it, acknowledge it, be aware of it, and pay attention. So get curious. So what is this fear that I feel? And then number 2 would be evaluating it, right? Let's dig a little bit deeper, all right? So if this is not an area that you struggle with, that's cool. But if this is resonating with you, hang with me because I really feel like this can help someone. So that's my goal today. You have to evaluate the fear that you're feeling, or whatever it is that's keeping you stuck into moving forward. And when I say moving forward, I mean goals. And those goals could be anything. But you have to ask yourself the really tough questions. That's how you get through it. You can't glaze over it. You can't shove it down. You can't say, you've heard that, feel the fear and do it anyway. And I love that, by the way. I love my quotes. But it's more to it than that. It's like really evaluating the root of it. Are you being reactive? Is this an emotional response to something else, right? Is this an irrational fear that you've created? Where does it come from? You have to ask yourself the tough questions. If you're stuck, are you not learning? Are you not growing? Are you not challenging, trying something new, getting out of your own way? What is it? What are the tough questions that you really have to ask yourself to say, okay, this is a fear that I have, whether rational or not. If it's keeping you stuck, it's worth your time in looking at it. You can't ignore it. You can't shove it because you'll stay stuck. You won't meet those goals that you're setting yourself for whatever it is in life, relationships, like I said. Am I dwelling on the challenges, right? How many of us can resonate with that? You're literally like, well, I've had this and I've had this. And like you literally are sitting in it and living in it and dwelling in it, right? So after you ask yourself those tough questions, I had to come back and say, all right, well, is this serving me? Because sometimes fear serves you, right? You get something out of it. And if you do, you have to go, well, why do I keep dwelling in it? What am I getting out of it? And then what do I need to choose to do differently? So after number 2, after you're evaluating it, you might have to redefine where you're at. You might have to like literally make a choice. If you could focus on something, and I'm reading my notes if you see me, what is it? When you're doing that evaluation portion, right? You're like, all right, fear is keeping me stuck in this area of my life. I've evaluated that it stems from this. I recognize that it's keeping me stuck. All right, Em, now what, right? You have to redefine and think of the possibilities. So I don't know if you guys can be like, please drop me some love before, and I'm not seeing comments yet, but I see you hopping on. So please say, hey, thanks for tuning in. I hope this is valuable for you guys. This is a journey that I've literally been on. So I just want to pass the information along. But I'm a worst case scenario. Does anybody else relate? Are you a worst case scenario? So in my head, it's like, if fear is keeping me from doing something, I might go, all right, what is the worst case scenario that might happen? And in my head, if I'm okay with the worst case scenario, that gives me permission to act and move forward. Anybody else think like I do? My husband thinks it's crazy. So he's the ultimate optimist. So he thinks, and this is fine, you have to understand yourself, right? He says, well, what if, and he's the ultimate opportunist, right? So people think differently, and that's okay. This is why you have to do the work on yourself, and I can't do it for you, and someone else can't do it for you, and you can't worry about what everybody else thinks, right? You have to do the work yourself. So he tends to think, I call him like the ultimate optimist. And I am the person that goes, all right, so if I do this, and this is the goal that I'm going for, what's the worst case scenario that could happen? All right, I'll run through maybe a few scenarios. All right, how possible are those outcomes? All right, usually they're not very. All right, then you have to get out of your own way. Like I just said, you have to literally get out of dwelling on your challenges. And you have to shift your thinking into the next step, which is action, right? You have to say, well, what if I do this for this goal and it works? A lot of times we're in our own freaking way and we're letting that fear keep us stuck, right? We're running all through these like worst case scenarios that could happen, and then they actually do. All right, what if something went right? What if I could achieve this goal? What if I could really do it? What if I could really build my business? What if I could really lose 50 pounds or 100 pounds? What if I could really connect with my spouse or my kids? What if I could really, whatever it is, really apply myself and go back to school? What if I could really do it? How would that feel? Right? That's part of the evaluation process for me. It was like, all right, I ran through all these worst case scenarios, but what if that didn't happen? Right? I'm going to totally butcher this quote, but somebody was talking about, you're only going to regret the things that you didn't do. Right? So for me in business, choosing to step away from different things was, I'm never going to regret spending more time with my kids. I will never regret the money that I could have made. That doesn't matter to me, right? So your race is your race. Your evaluation is your evaluation, and that you need to validate that. Just like we talked about validating your feelings, you have to validate your evaluation of yourself and understanding that your race and your going toward your goals is your race. We see all these like fancy smancy buzzwords of like, don't compare and support each other. And then what happens? We like smack each other down. We criticize each other. We compare. How many of you guys can understand with like, have you had compare-itis, right? Maybe it's in your health journey. Somebody's, has less wrinkles than you, or is thinner than you, or smarter than you, or they have more degrees than you, or they make more money than you, or they've built a business faster than you, whatever, right? And we've heard, don't compare, right? But then what happens when you don't meet those goals? It's like, well, Susie Q did it over here and Joe Schmo did it over here. And right, we get right back into that. Like you have to stay your race in your race. And it's the same with dealing with your fear, because it's your fear and it's your goal that you're struggling for. And this is a big concept for me, right? Has there ever been a time in your life where you feel like the struggle or the fear was literally keeping you from moving forward toward that goal? You just couldn't seem to move forward, no matter how much you wanted it or how much you said you wanted it. And I'm going to get to that in a minute, the most important step. So hang with me, right? And it doesn't mean that someone else's race is wrong. We're so involved on saying like, this is right for me and you do right for you. But then as soon as that person chooses something different for them, we cut them down instead of actually support them. It's not that does that validate you? I think a lot of people get validation out of that. And I just want to encourage you to, when you say you truly support others and you love others, that you actually do that. So going back into your race is your race and not comparing, the other end of that would be to support someone who has different goals from you, right? I just said I'm like self-development, like I love it, right? To a crazy point. But if you ask people different ideas of success, they'll give you different answers. For some people, it's this. For another person, it's that. Does it make anyone's right or wrong? No. So when you're setting goals for yourself and what you want to choose to get there, you can't let someone else tell you that it's right or wrong. It's just different, right? So if you know me, you know my background. I was a collegiate athlete and I wanted to be a teacher. So I went through all of the schooling to be a teacher. But I knew, and this is getting into my Made for More Mondays and actually getting into the root of it, so hang with me. I knew that I was never going to be that second grade teacher who was still teaching in the same room, in the same school, in the same place. Now, and I love teaching. I just knew that that wasn't my journey. Does that mean that I'm knocking someone else for that? Absolutely not. I became a teacher for a reason. I just knew that I was made for more. And when I say made for more, it doesn't mean better. It doesn't mean that one thing is wrong over here. It just means for you and you saying those goals, it's okay to say that you want more. It's okay to want different. It doesn't mean better. You can stand in your right? We say, I don't know if you know, I'm really big on affirmations. What you speak over yourself is super powerful. And it is okay for you to say, I am good. I am smart. Like, I want this. These are my goals. What's not okay is for you to say, well, these are better than yours, or this is a better way than yours, or that's how it's done, right? That's when it gets tricky. So the next step I would say is do the next right thing. The word is do. It's an action. So what gets you out of fear? Action. You feel it and then you evaluate it, but then you do something different. Different. Thank you for the love, you guys. I thought I might get some on that, right? Because it doesn't mean that it's better or worse. It's just different. It's okay to say that you were made for more. It doesn't mean better. It just means different. It just means you're running your race and you can't let the fear of other people's critiques or their lack of support or their lack of understanding. They don't have to understand everything you do. How many of you guys can relate to this? I literally used to feel like I had to defend every single choice and decision that I made. I had to validate it. I had to explain it. Like, you know, I don't have to do that, right? It took a very long time, but I'm still working on that. Let's be honest. We're all a work in progress. But when you choose the action, just the one step can totally take you out of a state of stuck. So, you know, I have a lot of people get healthy. One actionable item that you could do, just one. You don't have to overhaul the whole thing, right? Because what happens? People get fearful. Well, what if I can't lose 50 pounds? What if I can't get healthy? What if I can't get off these, you know, medications that I'm on? What if I can't make healthier, right? You get in your head and then you get fearful. And then what happens? You get overwhelmed and you feel stuck. But do the one next thing. What if I can't make this business work? But what can you do today? What can you do to help a person today? What can you do in your relationships to help, right? Action will be the single best thing to get you unstuck. Single most action, right? There's no right or wrong. It's what's right for you, right? So going back to my teaching, I knew I was never going to be that teacher, right? Doesn't mean I don't like teaching. Same thing in the gym. I literally got into personal training, fitness classes. If you know me, I still teach. I love it. Like they say, if you love it, you do it for free. I totally do it for free, right? I do family fit days. I love them. Why? Because I love helping people. But people are like, why would you do that for free? Why don't you come over here and manage this? Why don't you own your own gym? I don't want to own my own gym. And that's okay. So stop listening to the people who are putting their goals and their agendas on you, because it will keep you fearful and it will keep you stuck. You have to do what's right for you. Motion, action, right? In your health, people are always like, oh, well, you can't do this, or you can't do, you know, Mediterranean or keto, or you have to do this and you have to do this. Anybody that knows anything about health, there's more than one way to get healthy. There's more than one way to build a business. It doesn't mean that anything's right. It doesn't mean that anything's wrong. It just means that you are aligning in yourself. You're stepping out of that fear. You're choosing action. You're doing the next right thing in front of you. I'm going to move for 20 minutes today, right? Somebody says, oh, I can't believe you're eating that diet. You need to do this diet. It's hard. I get it. And that gets you back in that fear, right? It starts that doubt in your head. It's a powerful thing. Ooh, maybe I can't. Maybe I can't lose the weight. Maybe I can't build the business. oh, geez. And you take that criticism upon yourself that's really other people's crap, right? Can you relate? And you start that comparing game and you start to get in your head again. And then you start to get fearful. Either it's reactive or you're having that emotional response and you start that process all over again. That is what's keeping us stuck, people. That is exactly what I put myself through, right? Is this resonating with you guys? Because I feel like this is good. And it's been a topic in my community and in business and my mentors and for a while, because I really believe that fear is really prevalent right now in many ways. So my next tip, I think I'm on 4 or 5 now, is, what are you feeding yourself? Are you feeding the fear or are you fighting the fear? Are you feeding the fear or are you fighting the fear? I'm going to say it one more time for the back. Are you feeding into the fear or are you fighting the fear? Right? Going back to point 1, are you sitting in the challenges and using them as excuses and going, well, I'm sorry, I just can't. I'm feared this way. And you list off all of these things that are probably valid reasons for why you can't get healthy or build your business or have relationships, right? Ask yourself those tough questions like we talked about. Or are you fighting it with the truth, which for me is affirmations and people I surround myself with. So going back to that, are you feeding into the fear or are you fighting the fear? So if you say, yes, Emily, I am made for more. This message today you've got really resonates with me. I felt a fear in this area that's keeping me from this goal right now. All right? You've done number 1. You've identified it. You're aware of it. It's keeping you stuck. You're feeling it, right? Sit in it for a minute, right? Identify it. You have to loose it and let it go. You can't loose it unless you've identified what it is, right? Then you've evaluated it. You've asked yourself those tough questions to work through that fear. That's fighting it. That's not feeding it, right? If you have that emotional response fear that we talked about, do you really think that watching and being plugged into the news 24/7 is going to help you with all of those negative worst case scenarios I talked about earlier? Nope. But if I fight it and I fill myself up with things that are the opposite of fear, right? With those what ifs, like we talked about a minute ago. What if I could lose the weight? What if I could get healthy? What if I could have a healthy relationship or a better one with my kids or build my business or whatever it is, right? What are you fighting it with? Are you fighting it with affirmations? Are you telling yourself the truth? And this comes to my last one, which I added last minute, which was you need an accountability buddy or the mentors around you that you want feeding in. I have a really sad, funny story that feeds right into this, because you don't just want a cheerleader, right? You want someone that's going to do the hard. If you have ever trained with me, right? I might push you, but I will love you the whole way through. You might hate me at points, but you'll love me tomorrow. Why? Because I'm not just going to go, good job, you tried, you showed up. No, that's not how you get better at anything. That's not how you get better at goals at anything. You have to find people that are going to show up and actually support you in the hardships, in the fear, and go, that is fear. That is an excuse. You've told me not to let that fly with you. It's important. It's very important. If you watched my video on my health journey, I don't want to go there again because I ugly cried through the whole thing. Go back and watch it. But you have to do the hard and you have to practice the behaviors. And for me, one was asking for help. So when you get to that point where you're taking the next step, but you're ready for bigger, you've got to find that group of support. Thanks for the love, you guys. I hope this is resonating with you guys. That's really my intent. This is the final and most important step. You have to practice the behaviors, yes. You have to take the actionable step, yes. But you have to set yourself up for success. That's important. Otherwise, you're going to resort to that crazy wheel that we talked about where you're literally stuck because you're repeating yourself over and over and over and in that fear and not literally taking yourself off of the hamster wheel to actually get to that goal, right? How many of us have set a health goal for ourselves and totally sabotaged it? Right? But I'm better at it now. I've had decades of practice. I've had decades of practice inside my business in building it forward. But are the people that you're choosing to surround yourself totally supportive of your health journey or your business and how you decide and choose to build it? That is your choice, right? It's not a right or a wrong. It's not saying that's right or that's wrong. I'm glad you get healthy that way. This is how I'm going to get healthy. This is what I'm going to do. So my sister used to work for big coffee chain. And these two ladies came in after their exercise classes every single day. And when the one lady would come in by herself, she would order skinny, mocha, whatever, blah, 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 skinny, right? When they come in together, the other one would always go up and she would order the two and she would say, order the other girls like extra fat, extra whip, extra everything. And so my sister said, well, I know her. Oh yeah, I know how she orders. She goes, I know. We'll just give her the extra fat to keep her working. And she would do that. Oh, I don't know what it is about that story I've shared so many times. It just kills me. Here's this lady who thinks that this person is supportive. And I'm not saying like all your friends are going to backstab you like that. But how many of us, and I have had this, you lose 20 pounds and I'm like, well, you don't need to lose 20 more. They almost don't want you to. So be careful of who you're surrounding yourself as you're working towards those goals. Are they sabotaging it or are they really supporting you? Are they pushing you in a good way in how you've said that your race is going to go and the decisions that you've chosen? Or are they really just bashing you and sabotaging you behind your back? That's important to know. Sad, but it's true, right? And sometimes, your journey takes you along and it's not maybe what you chose. You're like, well, this isn't, I'm serious. I live in California. If you'd have told me 20 years ago I live in California, I'd call you a liar. If you told me that I would work from home 20 years, even 10 years ago, I'd call you a liar. I thought I was going to teach. I knew I would never be that 20-year teacher in the second grade classroom, but your goals change and that's okay. Your journey changes. That's okay. And it's really hard for some people to get to the point where they need a different accountability buddy because normally their buddies, sabotage their health efforts. And they're like, I could do really good except for on the weekend. And usually as a trainer, I delve into that. Well, what is it about the weekend that's sabotaging your efforts? Usually it's the people. So my suggestion is always, well, why don't you communicate to them what your goals are and what you need? And that's hard. And I've done that in business. And it's even harder. It was for me. It was a fear of mine that I didn't even know I had. They say, oh, most of us really want to feel like welcome and you want, approval. And I've prided myself on the fact that I don't need that. Yet deep down in this area of my life, I really did. I really did. How many of us can relate? And it's so hard emotionally to detach ourselves from those unhealthy habits or that fear or those doubts, right? Or those buddies or, whatever it is in our life that those practicing behaviors, that's why so many people don't achieve their goals. It's not because they're like, oh, I'm going to run. Oh, how many times have I heard this? I'm going to work out 5 or 7 days a week. I'm like, how practical is that? How much time do you have, right? Let's niche it down. How can I help you? Help me help you, right? I've done this with business now. It's like, all right, well, so you can't, make this much when you're working this much, right? Like, let's be realistic here. What are your health goals? But you have to learn to slowly chip away at that fear, to take that next actionable step, right? What is the one step that's holding you back right now in whatever it is that made you pop on and click in and go, all right, what are we talking about today, right? That fear. What's that fear? Can you identify? You don't have to drop it below. But I want you to ask yourself that hard question. What goal is it that you have? Because we all need one. So this applies to everybody. We all have something that we should be striving for. Because when you don't, then you're what? Listlessly going through? You have no purpose. You have nothing to get up for. What gets you up? What goal is it that you're setting for yourself that you haven't yet reached? And what fear is it that might be holding you stuck? Identify it. Evaluate it, take the next actionable step, fight the fear and stop feeding the fear, and then surround yourself, number 5, with people that are going to support it. It could be an accountability buddy. Let me tell you guys, it has been triple digits here. I have had a goal to get up and to get moving. And I can tell you right now, I have a full gym in my house. That is not helpful. I go to the gym for a reason. right? I get kid-rupted and my day gets hijacked. How many can relate? But the second that I literally post on my little mom group, hey, somebody want to meet me and go for a run? Guess what? I'm absolutely showing up. Why? Because I am not going to not show for people. I'm going to get up and show up for them because I said I was going to be there. How can you apply that in your area of life, in your goal setting? How can you help yourself win? Identify the fear is one thing. Taking the action and making yourself, holding yourself accountable is another. So I hope this was valuable. That was a recap, those five points. I hope this resonates with you guys because fear is powerful, but so is action. And massive action can lead to massive results. You want to know why people get freaking healthy in a short amount of time? They took massive action. You want to know why people build a business? Because they took massive action. You want to know why people have strong relationships with their families? Because they take massive action, even if that just looks like quality time spent with them. What area in your life are you goal setting on? What is holding you back? Go through these, take action. I hope you guys found this valuable. I hope you guys have a marvelous Monday. Take that action. Don't let that fear stop you. And I'll see you guys next time. Have a good night. Bye, guys.